So, this week, we're going to look at Ireland, but maybe in a way you haven't before. We're going to take 5 stories that, on the surface, seem completely disconnected, but together, they really do paint a picture of a nation at a crossroads, asking some really tough questions about what it means to be safe and what it means to be Irish. Let's connect the dots.
Think about it. A local tragedy on the streets of Dublin, a massive state-led deportation, a political shakeup in the north, a world champion athlete making a controversial choice, and a movement demanding justice in a billion-euro industry. See, these aren't just random headlines. They are all pieces of the same puzzle.
And really, it all boils down to one big question that we're going to explore through all of this. What truly defines a nation's safety? Is it about what happens on your own street, the laws of the land, or maybe it's about the systems we build to protect the most vulnerable among us? Let's dive in. Okay, let's start with a story that's tough to hear, but it's where we have to begin. It's an immediate, heartbreaking tragedy in North Dublin that brings that whole question of safety right to your front door. So, picture this. It's a Sunday afternoon in Finglas, a Dublin suburb. Broad daylight. A teenage girl is just walking when she's hit and killed by a scrambler bike. Now, an arrest has been made, but for the community there, this wasn't just some freak accident. It was a terrifying confirmation of a danger they have been warning about for years. And you can just feel the impact in this quote from local councillor Connor Reddy. The community is traumatized. This isn't just a headline for them. It's a profound shock that leaves everyone asking one really urgent question. How do we stop the illegal use of these bikes before another life is lost? So while one community is dealing with this very local, very personal tragedy, the state is taking a completely different approach to safety on a massive scale, a much more hardline approach. Okay, so this story kicks off with a single number, 33. That's how many non-nationals were put on a special charter flight and removed from Ireland recently. But you know that number? It really doesn't tell you the whole story. Okay, this is the number that changes everything. Between those 33 people, they had racked up over 1,000 criminal convictions. Just let that sink in for a second. Over 1,000. And this wasn't cheap. The state spent €122,000 on this one flight to Poland and Lithuania. That sends a pretty clear message, doesn't it? It signals a much more aggressive policy when it comes to foreign nationals involved in serious crime. So let's be clear about who we're talking about here. These weren't minor things. We're talking serious crimes, sexual offenses, assaults, drug crimes, and get this, 20 of them were taken literally from their prison cells and put straight onto the plane. Now they're banned from coming back for up to 10 years. So as the Republic grapples with these big questions about crime and who gets to stay, something totally different is happening up north. A new poll is showing a really fascinating shakeup in the landscape of unionist politics. All right, if you look at the latest poll from Lucid Talk, Sinn Féin is still way out in front at 25%. The DUP is sitting at 19%. But the real story, the interesting part, is what's happening just below them. The Ulster Unionist Party, the UUP, they've actually seen a little bump in support, up to 13%. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but it's enough to push them ahead of the TUV, the more hardline, traditional unionist voice party. And that hints at a potential shift, maybe a move toward the political center-right for unionism. And what's really interesting is the timing. This is all happening right as a new leader, John Burrows, is about to take over the UUP. And he's got a lot of support from the broader unionist electorate. Over half think he'll be a good or even excellent leader. That's even with some grumbling from inside his own party. Okay, so we've talked about politics and collective identity. Now let's get really personal. Let's talk about what a flag even means when your family and your whole career are on the line. So here is the situation for Amy Broadhurst, an incredible boxer from Louth, a world champion. She gets left off the Irish Olympic team. Suddenly, she's got this massive choice to make. Does she stay loyal to a country, a system that she feels just cast her aside? Or does she find another way to chase her Olympic dream and, provide for her son? Well, she made a choice that was all about pragmatism, and yeah, it definitely stirred up some controversy. Her own words say it all. Everything is for me and my son. The flag doesn't matter. And just like that, she switched her allegiance to Team GB. It's a move that really makes you question those old ideas about national pride in sport. And if you thought that wasn't complicated enough, get this. Her partner is a high-performance coach for the Irish Boxing Association, the exact same organization she just walked away from. Talk about a complex personal story, right? It's really about what it takes to survive as a pro athlete today. All right, for our last story, we're going to pull the lens back a bit and look at a different kind of safety, not just for one person, but for an entire industry. And it all started with an awful tragedy.
It's called the Katie Pledge. And the goal here is to fundamentally change the culture in the Irish horse world by bringing in brand new, mandatory rules for safety and accountability.
The story behind the pledge is heartbreaking. It's named for Katie Simpson, a young show jumper who was murdered by her trainer. For a while, he even tried to pass it off as a suicide. But a retired detective, James Brannigan, he wouldn't let it go. He uncovered the truth. And now he's the one leading this campaign to make sure nothing like this can ever happen again. So what does this pledge actually involve? Well, it's not just talk. It's about real, concrete actions. We're talking mandatory background checks for every single person working in the industry, creating safe, clear ways for people to report abuse directly to the Gardaí, and totally overhauling the safeguarding policies, some of which, believe it or not, haven't been touched since 2017. And the detective, James Brannigan, he is brutally honest about the problem. He calls the industry riddled with abuse and talks about this culture of silence where people are too scared to speak up. But here's the hopeful part. The big players like Horse Racing Ireland are finally getting on board. A lot of people are calling this a Me Too moment for the Irish horse world, a reckoning that is long, long overdue. So, from the safety of your own street to the security of the entire state, from who you vote for to what flag you compete under, and finally to justice within an entire industry, all these stories, they paint a picture of a country that's really changing. And it leaves us with this one massive question. As Ireland figures out what it wants to be, who gets to write the new rules? And when it's all said and done, what will they decide is actually worth protecting?